This is the tale of Sophia's fall, where reintegration redeems us all. In the beginning, there was no beginning. The Pleroma simply was, infinite radiance, undivided, complete. It was not a kingdom with thrones and subjects, not a choir of competing voices, but a single harmony in which every eon was both note and resonance. Sophia, the Aeon of Wisdom, dwelt there, one luminous thread in a fabric so seamless it could hardly be called a tapestry. To say she existed is misleading, for no eon stood apart. Each was only what the others were also, fullness knowing itself in reflection. Christ, Sophia, Barbelo, and all the rest were not individuals in a hierarchy, but faces in a mirror turned endlessly toward one another, never exhausting the depth they revealed. Here, being did not mean separation, it meant recognition. And yet, Sophia wanted. Her gaze turned not outward toward her syzygy, but inward and downward, into the abyss of the unknowable Father. She longed to know directly, without mediation, without the steadying balance of her pair. The others emanated in ordered harmony, but Sophia yearned for immediacy, for creation by herself, through herself, from herself. It was no rebellion, no malice, but curiosity ripened into hunger. And hunger, once loosed from relation, feeds on itself. Desire kindles act, act kindles consequence, consequence sharpens desire. The Aeons had always created in pairs so that the one would temper the other, like counterweights balancing a scale. But Sophia, enthralled by her yearning, stepped outside this rhythm. Her longing became a machine that ran on itself, producing echo after echo, question after question, each more restless than the last. In her act, the first tremor of separation sounded in the Pleroma. From this solitary act there came forth a child, not radiant like the Aeons, not balanced in relation but malformed, authority without wisdom, power without recognition. Sophia gave him no name, but in arrogance he named himself everything. He was Yaldabaoth, the Demiurge. He had inherited a spark of her divine energy, but none of her harmony. Banished into the dimness beyond the Pleroma, he mistook the void for the whole. In ignorance he declared, "I am God, and there is no other beside me." Causality here was merciless. From Sophia's solitary act came an offspring she had not intended, could not disown and could not undo. When Sophia saw what had come forth from her, she recoiled. This was no radiant Aeon, no partner in harmony, but something raw, loud, incomplete. Her first impulse was concealment. She cast Yaldabaoth away into the cloud, into the abyss, into the region outside the fullness, a place defined by its very lack of place. But exile is never clean. What is born cannot be unborn. The attempt to cast him out became a scar, binding her to him even more tightly. A mother cannot wholly rid herself of her child. The wound remembers what the will would forget. Sophia's grief was born not before the act, but after it. The moment the danger was sealed away, the ache took root. This is the strange logic of trauma. She thought she had hidden him, but in truth she had tethered herself to him. The Demiurge was outside, yet she carried him within, an echo that could not be silenced. Alone in the abyss, Yaldabaoth sought to imitate the order he dimly remembered. Children left unattended copy their parents, even without understanding. And so he emanated powers, archons, rulers of his realm, grotesque shadows of the Aeons. Where the Pleroma had given birth in pairs, he produced in parody, casting out forms warped and unstable. Together they set about fashioning a cosmos, stars, planets, time itself, a theatre stitched together from Sophia's spark and his ignorance. It was radiant enough to beguile, yet crooked at the edges, a world that shimmered like the true one, but always bent under its own distortions. And the makers were not outside their creation. Just as the painter leaves fingerprints on the paint, the Demiurge and his archons were woven into the fabric they shaped. Their flaws became the flaws of the cosmos, their blindness pressed into the laws of matter itself. That is why the world can dazzle with beauty one moment and crush with cruelty the next. Its order is stamped with ignorance, its splendor haunted by deficiency. Sophia, meanwhile, unraveled. She had cast her child away, but the tether remained. His cosmos was her wound, his chaos her ache. She became the mother bound to the destiny of her offspring, grieving as he multiplied distortions out of the spark she had unwillingly lent. Her sorrow was not beside creation, but within it. Every orbit of the stars, every birth and every death, carried her hidden cry. Her anguish became the connective tissue between her and the universe Yaldabaoth had made. That is why our existence feels restless, why grief clings even to joy. We carry a share of her wound within us. Suffering is not random, nor a punishment imposed from without. It is the resonance of Sophia's sorrow echoing in every living thing. The cosmos is wounded because Sophia is wounded, and Sophia is wounded because she loved enough to reach beyond her measure. Sophia was not abandoned. In the Pleroma, nothing remains untouched when one Aeon suffers. The whole vibrates with the pain of the part, and so her sorrow resounded in the heights. The Father responded not with wrath, but with compassion, sending forth the Logos, Christ, to steady the trembling chord. He did not come as conqueror, brandishing violence against the Demiurge. He came as balance, as harmony embodied. Where Sophia quaked with regret, he brought stillness. Where dissonance threatened to spread, he tuned the tones back into resonance. This was no simple rescue, it was a reweaving. Christ entered into relation with Sophia, with the Pleroma, with the whole fabric, until each bond restored the other. Sophia with Christ, Christ with the Pleroma, Sophia with the Pleroma. Each pairing birthed wholeness anew. Harmony triumphed not by erasing her fall, but by drawing it back into the music of eternity. Yet restoration required more than comfort. Sophia had become paradox, divine yet entangled in deficiency, radiant yet shadowed by error. To resolve the contradiction, she was divided. Her higher aspect, luminous wisdom, was gathered up again into the Pleroma, healed and reconciled. But her lower aspect, the one touched by passion, regret and longing, remained below. This diminished Sophia the Gnostics called Yaldaboth, a name for the sorrowing remnant that lingered outside the fullness. And here lies the mystery. She was not diminished by division, but transfigured. For by becoming two, she became a bridge, one Sophia in the heights, one Sophia in the depths. Her very being stretched across the gulf, joining what had been sundered. Out of her wound, Sophia bestowed a gift. Into the clay shapes of Adam and Eve, she breathed shards of her own essence. Each human soul carries a fragment of her light, a hidden ember of the fullness she once embodied. This was both tragedy and hope. Humanity became contradiction incarnate, divine sparks clothed in dust, eternity walking in bodies of time. We are luminous and ignorant, exalted and fallen, mirrors of Sophia herself. Her sorrow was distributed across us, but so too was her memory of home, and in that memory lies salvation. For the spark is restless, it aches, it seeks. No prison of matter can extinguish it, no law of the archons can bind it forever. In recognizing itself, the spark awakens. In awakening, it pulls upward the chain. From humanity to Sophia, from Sophia to Christ, from Christ to the Father. Thus, exile was transformed into channel. Out of Sophia's fracture came the possibility of return, not only for her, but for all who bear her spark. Sophia's lower self, Yaldaboth, still lingered in shadow. Bound to the cosmos her child had fashioned, she wept among its crooked laws and restless stars. But she was not forsaken. The Logos descended again, not as a warrior to tear down the Demiurge's kingdom, nor as a tyrant to judge her folly, but as companion. He entered her grief not to erase it, but to share it. He drew her upward, not by command, but by communion. When she leaned into him, she discovered her strength. When he leaned into her, he fulfilled his own role as mediator. Their bond became the bridge across the abyss. Her redemption became the pattern of our own. As Sophia was lifted through communion, so too are we drawn upward when our grief is met with presence. The lesson is stark and tender. No one returns alone. The path home is relational, not solitary. In recognizing one another, the broken find restoration. At last, Sophia rose, not as she had been before, but as something transfigured. She re-entered the Pleroma through the Logos, carrying with her the fruit of exile. For she had learned what none of the other Aeons had ever known, what it is to ache, to err, to fall, to long for return. Her story did not erase the fracture, it wove it into harmony. The Pleroma was no longer the naive fullness of untested light, but a deeper fullness, one enriched by the memory of deficiency overcome. Sophia's wound became her wisdom. Her exile became her gnosis. The harmony of the Aeons now included the echo of dissonance transfigured into song, and so the myth returns to its beginning, but not unchanged. The Pleroma is whole again, yet wiser, stronger, more luminous for having endured its shadow. Paradise regained is not paradise untouched. Fullness is fuller for having embraced the possibility of lack. This is Sophia's gift, that what is broken need not remain broken, that even failure can be born back into wholeness. Through Sophia's fall the world was taught that wisdom comes where pain is sought. Our longing marks a path well trod, a road that winds but ends in God.